Okay, so now we are doing Mishlei 14:14, which is a weird pasuk, or weird to translate, at least weird to read. Okay, midrachav yisba Soog Lev ume'alav ish tov. Why is this not working? Yeah. So the only word here that is I think unfamiliar is sug, which the BDB says to move away or to backslide, turn oneself away, turn back, be turned or driven back, be repulsed, removed or carried away. So I think the phrase in Tanakh that comes to my mind is nasogu achor. But yeah, that's the only weird phrase. Okay, so how do we translate this? Midrachav yisba Soog Lev ume'alav ish tov.
From the path of being satiated.
So what is drachav?
His path, from his path.
His paths.
From his paths.
You need some Rabbi cinnamon. From his ways or his paths. I'm going to say ways. So how would you say the Soog Lev will be satisfied? What's the Soog Lev?
I don't know.
Okay, let's say the
his heart. I don't know.
From his ways, the let's say backsliding of heart will be satisfied. Ume'alav ish tov. Me'alav.
From his.
And from him, from upon him, a good man. Yeah. Very difficult. Okay, so let's see what the minimalist meforshim help us here. Okay, so Bekius says Soog inyano hachazara la'achor. So he agrees with the BDB that means going backwards. Kamo v'husag achor mishpat. Okay, Sadyagon says asidim lihios darche Soog halev rabim be'enav. Okay, so that's already I mean that's a translation, but it's already an interpretation. Sadyagon says, let me just delete this here. So he says, ultimately, the ways of the person who is backsliding of heart will be many in his eyes. Okay, so he's learning yisba, to be satiated, as not the emphasis on like fulfilling a need, but the emphasis on having lots. Okay, meaning like he'll be sated with his ways. And it seems to be subjective because he's saying in his eyes. Okay, but then Kafach elaborates and he says, Klomar vayikot behem. Okay, and he will be disgusted by them. And he will be disgusted by them.
And that's that same person?
That's the same person, yeah. Tirgum yisba riboy. So this is still Kafach. He says that Sadigon translated yisba as excess or as numerous, kilo shayach b'zeh svia, because you can't it's not relevant to say to be satisfied by ways, right? There's like I'm satisfied by paths, so I think you could probably come up with an interpretation why, but he's saying that he said that you can't be satisfied with paths. So he says Re'ei pirusha li'Iyov zayin daled mahadurasi. Okay, so seaside you go on Eov 7:4. The Soog kamo kesef sigim mezuyav ubilti tahor. Okay, so that's the other translation of Soog. Is he says he translates it as impure. Okay, kesef sigim means like silver that's like diluted with impurities. So like counterfeit kesef. So he's not saying backsliding part. The person who is who has impurities of heart, okay, or let's say like a counterfeit heart, will be many in his eyes. Okay, yeah. So let's say Sadigon again says ultimately the ways of the person who has impurities of heart, or a person who has a counterfeit heart will be many in his eyes, and he will be disgusted by them, because that's radically different from the way we're translating it.
Why didn't we translate impurities also backsliding?
Why is say it again?
Backsliding of heart is also one of the ways of translating Soog, right?
Yeah, but not according to Kafet on Sadigon here.
Yeah, no, but why aren't we also adding that as an option?
Oh, for ours? Yeah, no, we could do that. I'm just gonna keep the Sadigon up so we can toggle back and forth between them. Okay, so that's Sadigon. Targum says min orchase nisba man dmidiach libe. So this is a weird pasuk, just so you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So from his ways, nisba man dmidiach libe, the person who has impurities of heart. Hold on. Sorry, the person. Sorry, so Targum saying like this. From his ways, the one whose heart, Mediach is like an Ir Hanidachas, right? A city that's like wayward. The wayward heart will be satisfied. V'gavra tava nisba min dachalte. That's very different. Okay, wow. So, but a good man, gavra tava, will be satisfied from. So dachalte means fear, or dachala means fear. So I don't know if dachalte is his fear or his fear, like fear of God. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Whew. Okay, so that's that. Okay, let's see what the translation. Oh, sorry, Malbim. I forgot the Malbim here. Malbim says in the Biramilo says Soog is mishtatef im Paul nasag v'sogu v'ivgudu ka'avosam lev hanasog ahor v'shiuro ume'alav yisog ish tov shiyufrash mimenu kmo v'yet Yisrael me'alav. Okay, so he's saying he's taking the wayward interpretation, but I'm not going to go too deep into this. Okay, fine. Then we got the English translations here, which say, a wayward heart it will be satisfied with its ways, but a good man will take leave of him. Rav says, he who is of a straying heart seeks satisfaction from his ways, but a good man from his own person. I'm just going to make these even. And Alter says, from his ways, the impure of heart is sated, and the good man from his deeds. So you see, we have a bajillion translations here. Okay. Oh, Alter comments. He says, he says it doesn't seem that an opposition is expressed. So he's bothered by the question we usually have, which is that what are the opposites here? We are left with the rather bland statement that both the evil man and the good man live with consequences of what they do. Okay, so that's his interpretation. I just wanted to quote his observation here. Okay, so we have how many translations? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 viable translations, and probably more if we think about it. I just want to point out the ambiguities here. So we have the ambiguity of Soog, whether Soog means like wayward backsliding or whether it means impurities. We have Yisba, which is to be sated with. So I guess there's Sadigon who says it just means like there's too many, but then there's the normal meaning of sated, which means like you're satisfied. Okay. Obviously we have the normal ambiguity about Lev. Okay, like is it heart or mind? I mean, it means heart, but it doesn't mean mind or emotions. And then the real ambiguity is me'alav, on him, right? Who is the, what happens? Did I just disconnect my microphone? Hold on, just got a weird notification.
Good test it, see.
Okay, now it's working again. You guys can hear me, right? I mean, I don't know if you can respond. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can indicate that you hear me, then give me some indication. Because if it's not recording, then that's also bad.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Okay, all right. Okay, so we have so I'm just gonna actually express these first questions just to set them out here. So what is meant by svia in this context? Okay, so is it like his needs are met, or he is like he has so many that he's disgusted, or something else? Okay, then we have Soog. What does Soog mean? Okay, wayward or impure or something else. Okay, I don't know what the something else would be. What is the antecedent of the pronoun from me'alav, from upon him? Who is the him? I guess the Soog Lev, the Ish Tov, Hashem, or something else. Yeah, I know. This is gonna be a workout. Hold on, let me just make I want to make everything a little bit smaller.
I think I left my brain upstairs.
Yeah, that's why I was a little worried when you said that you're gonna be here physically, but not necessarily mentally. Yeah. Okay, what else?
Are the two halves of the pasuk like
Oh yeah,
the his and him? Well, I was gonna say like, is that the same person?
yeah.
Like from his ways,
Right.
like could that be referring about the man or God, or the second?
Yeah, right.
Person, could that be him as in like?
Yeah, I think I'm covering that with this question here of the who's male love. Yeah, Isaac.
I think so. This is maybe an addendum to question one.
Yeah,
But I think Svea typically has a positive connotation.
yeah,
That's in my mind. Like,
right.
You feel good about it. So it's weird to be describing something positive about the way someone who's a Soog Lev is
Right.
really.
Okay, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, that's probably another reason. See, I mean, Kafka theorizes that the reason why Sadigon deviates from the normal meaning of satisfaction is because satisfaction can't apply to ways. But like, I feel like we say that don't we say that at the end of Yeshus Chayil? No, we don't say that. Just no, we say that somewhere, but like whatever. So, but I think Isaac's thing is better, which is that like to be satisfied implies good, but this seems like the bad guy in the pasuk because he's the opposite of the Ish Tov. So yeah. So I guess we have to ask as well, what are I guess let's put this in the first question, which is what does derech mean in this context, right? What are the darche Soog Lev? Yeah. Isaac unmuted. I don't know if he has something to say.
What are the opposites?
Yeah, what are the opposites? What are the opposites? Yeah, who is the intended audience? Yeah, what is the practical application? What is the subject? Yeah.
What's the consequence? Oh, practical.
Yeah.
Isn't this obvious?
I hope that was a joke.
Yeah, it was.
Good. It was a good joke. It was either a good joke or really bad learning. Yeah. The question that Ariel said jokingly, this is the Rabbi Moskowitz, the other Rabbi Moskowitz question, which is what the heck is this talking about? Which is another way of saying like, what is the subject or what is the scenario? But but yeah, it's just like one of these like, I think I said this before earlier this year that like, unlike American proverbs, which are designed to be quotable, Shlomo's proverbs are not. Some of them are, and some of them really aren't. Like I feel like if there is someone, if you say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, even if someone hasn't heard that before, they can kind of get what you mean by that. But if you go up to someone and you say Midraha Vispa Soog Lev Mi'alav Ish Tov, there's just a big question mark. So
yeah. Addendum to question 5.
Yeah.
Or maybe an elaboration of it.
Sure.
So are the Soog Lev and Ish Tov opposites?
Right. So specifically, are the Soog Lev and Ish Tov opposites? And if so, why express it that way? Right. In other words, like, why not say Ish Ra or Yashar Lev, right, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what is it saying about the Ish Tov?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to more. What is it saying about the Ish Tov? Yeah.
The other guy not an Ish Tov?
Right. Yeah. It seems to be the other guy's not an Ish Tov. He's Ish Ra. Right. Yeah.
All right, ready for answers?
I don't know. Yeah.
This might be like an illegal question.
Okay.
But which one of these translations do you think is the best one?
It's illegal. We cannot ask for his interpretation yet.
Yeah, that's why.
That's a good question.
Not quite his interpretation.
From his ways, the backslide. Yeah, I mean, it's a question of like, you have to start somewhere, right? It's like your intuition is going to go somewhere. Let me see it again. From his ways, the backsliding heart will be satisfied. I'm going to actually say, yeah, I don't know. Okay, satisfied. And from upon him, a good man.
Wherever your mind takes you.
That's one. Ultimately, yeah, the ways of the person who has impurities of heart will be many in his eyes. Okay, so Sadigon is not intuitive to me. Maybe it's just because like it requires the most tweaking, you know. So let's discount, or I'm going to discount that from answering your question. Targum says, from his ways, the wayward heart will be satisfied, but a good man will be saved from fear of him. May Allah. I don't like the Targum if it means capital H, because Hashem is not mentioned in this pasuk. But if it is lowercase h, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and just assume it's lowercase h from his fear, meaning like, I mean, it is talking about fear of God. Okay, but I'd be fine with saying that his fear of God. Let's put it that way. That's actually smoother. Okay, that's a candidate. Our score: a wayward heart will be satisfied with its ways, but a good man will take leave of him. That has the problem that our translation has. Hirsch says he was seeks satisfaction from his ways, but good man from his own person. Hirsch appeals to me in terms of like it's the closest to an idea.
Yeah,
it's like ready for the plugging, And Alder says, from his ways the impure of heart is sated, and the good man from his deeds. So that like also lends itself to an idea, but I don't know where he's getting his deeds from. I could see. The problem is like this: is if it's a me'alehem from upon them, then you could say it's the ways of the Ish Tov, just like the ways of the Soog Lev, So right now I'm drawn, what did I say? I'm drawn to the Targum, I think.
You also said Hirsch.
Yeah, the Targum and Hirsch. Yeah. Yeah, Ariel?
Can I try to attempt at an idea?
Sure.
We're ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right.
We're as ready as we're ever going to be.
Right,
yeah.
I'm going to learn them as opposites, and I'm going to bring out the opposites from within the pasuk itself.
Okay.
Right. So Midracha Yisba Sog. I want to say that Soog Lev.
Soog Lev, yeah.
Soog Lev.
Yeah.
Is that I think it's talking about man's desires. So I think if you say that, then like if he like his desires, and I think he may have various different ways of it being satisfied. But it's ultimately it's not going to lead you to being an Ishto because you're making decisions.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
so the second half of the pasuk, and it's funny. I think we're siding on you could keep it local to the man, but like but if you like use God as a model, or maybe your chachma, whatever, like if you use that path, you will be an Ishtov and you will be satiated.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding you right for the first half. Is I think you're answering Isaac's question, which is that Yispa does have a positive connotation, and you're agreeing with that positive connotation, but you're saying that it's a negative phenomenon. In other words, he might be satisfied with his ways, meaning in his eye, if you ask him like, are you satisfied? He'll be like, yeah, and he'll give you a thumbs up. But it's a bad thing that he's satisfied by his ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not following a different model.
Right. Okay. That also might, by the way, fit into Rav Hirsch's thing, because saying he seeks satisfaction would imply that there is something in objective reality that he's not getting, but like he's turning to his ways for satisfaction. Okay, all right, let me just write this down here. So Ariel is saying that the Soog Lev, all right, so the Soog Lev, which is someone who is like whose life revolves around Taiva. Okay. Yeah. Like seeks, I guess, like like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna say seeks. I know that's not what you said, but like it is true. He seeks satisfaction from his Taiva pursuing ways. And he may get some of that satisfaction. Okay, but, and I want to leave this open for the consequence. Okay. Okay. In contrast, the Ish Tov, okay, who is living a life of Yiras Hashem, will, what do you say about the Ish Tov?
He will be two things. One, he will be satiated,
Okay, so he
No,
will
completely.
be completely satiated. Yeah.
And he will be in show like pretty well.
Okay, so all right, so this is a good approach. I'll tell you what it reminds me of, and this might also be a slightly different take on the second half. There's a theory that Rebbe has on Koheles, and I know he has many shiur on Koheles, so I can't remember which shiur this comes from. But Koheles is ultimately about how man cannot find satisfaction in the physical world. Okay, so Rebbe's theory, according to what I remember, is that was by design. Is that if you could, so a cow can be totally satisfied just munching on grass every day until it dies, but man has these fantasies that propel him to seek more out of the physical world than he can actually be satisfied from. And so the question is like, why create man in this way? And if you look through Koheles, there are a lot of pasukim that indicate that like God created man to torture him. Okay, which obviously is like being said through a Kohelesi perspective, but I'll give you an example. Let's see here. Ra'isi, this is in 310. Ra'isi es ha'inyan asher nasan elokim livnei ha'adam la'anospo. I've seen this matter that God has given to man to la'anos. There's different ways to translate la'anos here, but la'anos, some of them translate it as like inui, like to torment him with, es hakol asa yafa bito. God made everything good in its time. Gam es ha'olam nasam libam, and he placed eternity into man's heart. So that man will not be able to find the work that God created from beginning to end. So Rebbe's explanation for why he did that, why God created man this way, is because if man could get totally satisfied from the physical world, then there would be then he just wouldn't turn to something beyond the physical. But by making it so that man can't get satisfaction from the physical world, then it forces us to seek something from, Yiras Hashem, which is the conclusion of Koheles, as Sof Tavar Kol Nishmayas Halakim Yirav Es Mitzvosav Shemor Ki Kol Adam. The end of the matter, when everything is considered, fear God to keep his mitzvos, because that is the entirety of man. So like that's a slightly different take on Ariel's thing. Let me just, I see your hand up, David, but that the Soog Lev is a guy whose life revolves around taiva. He attempts to get satisfaction from his taiva pursuing ways, and he will not get satisfaction because man is not built to get satisfaction that way. Okay, I'm going to say that, but man, I'm kind of like combining it with what Rebbe is saying. We can modify this, but man is not built to be able to get total satisfaction from the physical world. Sorry, from the physical world. In contrast, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, my only question on this is this Mishlei?
Yeah, we'll worry about that later. In contrast, the Ishto who's living life of Hashem will be completely satiated. So I'm going to say, and again, I don't know if this is in the pasuk. This is going to be one of the challenges here, because he is not only looking to his own taiva seeking ways. Yeah. Now the problem here, there's still a lot of problems to reckon with. One is that I feel like the pasuk is saying more about the first guy than the second guy. So we want to try to interpret the second half of the pasuk where we get as much out of the second half as the first half. The other problem is what Ariel said, which is like, is this Mishleic? Like what's the decision making at the end of the day? Like what's the decision making application? Yeah, David, did you have your own idea or you wanted to add to this?
It's my own idea. I think it has something similar, but I think it has something to take up in and of itself.
Okay. Let's see here.
Can you just translate Yiras Hashem as like you're following your mind instead of your desires?
Yeah, you could translate it like that. I mean, the Mishlei definition of Yiras Hashem is Musar Chachma, is being guided by Chachma, Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's going to be seeking, like, we're not talking, Mishlei, to my knowledge, does not deal with a, like, Shir HaShirim type Avas Hashem. Neither does Koheles. That's, like, a higher level. So I wouldn't say it's, like the highest level of Yiras Hashem, but it's like a Mishlei Yiras Hashem.
No, yeah. It's not, I mean, like, I guess the only difference I was trying to, like, express is, like, look, there's a difference in following your heart versus your mind.
Right.
Like, it'll naturally result in different outcomes.
Yeah. See, this is something, by the way, that is an advantage of Sadigon's impurities of the heart, because you could say that the Soog Lev is a guy with impurities of heart, and the Ish Tov is a guy without impurities of heart, and the impurities of the heart could be the desires, or it could be like, false values or something like that. And that way, like, the reason why like the second half of the pasuk is so sparse is because it doesn't need to say that. You could just like infer. Yeah, want to say something? Yeah.
Where does the target get fear of God from?
So that's the thing. I don't know. Oh, I haven't. I was going to do this formally, but I'll say it now and just allude to it. I have to make somewhat of a public apology to Robert Alter. Okay. So I still think that, we always talk about how Alter is like very trigger happy when it comes to dismissing the Masoretic text, and he'll do it when anything just doesn't make sense to him, So that I still criticize his trigger happiness. Okay. Also, he's very quick to make up his own text when he doesn't find this, and I'm so critical of that. Okay. He's also very quick to go to other texts that are non-Masoretic, like the Septuagint and the Alexandrian Torah and the Syriac Torah and the Samaritan Torah. Okay, that is where I want to retract my hardcore stance. Okay, obviously we are Orthodox Jews, and when it comes to halacha, we depend on the Masoretic text. However, I read in Amnon Bazak's book Ad Hayom Hazeh, which is about contemporary questions in biblical scholarship. I read his chapter on the various I forgot what the chapter is called, on the different versions of the Tanakh text, and one of the things he says is the Masoretic text was not really finalized until like I want to say like the 7th or the 8th century by the Tiberian, the Anshe Tiberia. And so that's all fine and nice, but what he mentions is he says that some Targumim, the reason why we've had experiences before where we're like, where does the Targum get this from? The Targum might have been relying on a version of the Torah that's not Masoretic. Okay, so when we see like a radical departure in the Targum, it might not be because he's translating it that way. It might be because the text of the Tanakh that he had is different than the text that we now have as the Masoretic text. And so I want to be open to that idea. In my mind, I did not know that the Masoretic text, I thought that the Masoretic texts were finalized. I thought that when we refer to the Masoretic text, we were really referring to the version that was like canonized by Ezra and Anshe Knesset HaGedolah way earlier. I didn't realize that there was a canonization then, but then there was a critical work done by the Anshe Tiberia, which was much, much later. And a lot of the Targumim, also Philo of Alexandria and the Alexandrian, we had a shiur on the Wednesday before Asar B'Tevis, and we were talking about like the Alexandrian Targum. And so like, let's put, bottom line is there is legitimacy to other versions of the Tanakh, not halachic legitimacy, but like non-halachic legitimacy that the Targumim might have been drawing upon. And so Alter doing his thing, he might still be too trigger happy, but the moves he's making are not illegitimate unless he just makes up his own text. That is a little sketchy. Yeah.
Would it be different though if you're doing it now versus doing it before it was finalized?
So it would be different for good and for bad. Okay. The different, okay, that's not a good way to say it. The standards are different now. Okay, one standard is that we have access to a lot more data in many ways than the individual people who were making these decisions back then. So, for example, like we have the Minchas Shai, who was another, critical. We're not in Mishlei anymore. Hold on a second here. I realize we've gone into a little bit of methodology here, but I've been meaning to say this ever since my cabin. And so I guess this is when I'm saying it. The Minchas Shai, let's just see if he says anything on our pasuk. No, he doesn't. Yeah, so the Minchas Shai did a lot of this work. And or let's say like the Vilna Gaon, or like the Bach in the Haggadah Bach in the Gemara, like they were working with a lot more manuscripts than any individual person, necessarily had, So like, we have more to draw upon. On the other hand, we are not chachamim like, let's say, when the Targum is making judgment like this, then that's, like there's an assumption that like he knows more Tanakh than we do, and like he's better at grammar than we are. So like we have to be wary. And like that's why someone like Alter falls out somewhere in the middle. On the one hand, he is a scholar of the Hebrew language, and he also is a scholar of like, Bible. But on the other hand, he is coming in without the reverence that we tend to have about things in the Masorah. So like, so I don't know how to answer your question in a practically implementable way, but I'm broadening I'm patting Alter on the back a little bit and saying like, okay, you're not totally Soog Lev. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the roundabout answer to your question, Oren, is where's the Targum get fear of Hashem from? Either he is interpreting the antecedent in both halves, or in one half as referring to God, which I was saying like I don't really want to do because it doesn't say Hashem, or he had a different text of Mishlei where it somehow did indicate that it was from Hashem. Yeah, I want to see, is there any indication in the pasukim around this that's talking about Hashem? Did we talk about Hashem lately? No, we did not. In fact, yeah, we really did not. Does Hashem appear at all in this? How does it? Hashem later on. Yeah, so Hashem doesn't appear until much. Oh, Holech b'yashro yirei Hashem. Okay, but that was a while ago. Oh, see, but this is interesting. Okay, this is another methodological thing. I mentioned this I didn't give share last week, 2 weeks ago. Rabbeinu Yonah, we've seen over the years, Rabbeinu Yonah does this thing where he'll treat it as though Mishlei has these little drop-down menus where like you'll be in the topic and then you'll go off topic, and then you'll return to the original topic, So it's possible, look at pasuk Beis, Holech b'yashro yirei Hashem unelos drachav bozehu. So one who walks in his uprightness fears Hashem, the one who is a deviant in his paths disparages him. So theoretically, you could say that we then went into a whole thing about drachim in general, and then now we're returning to talking about your relationship to the derech Hashem. I don't know. Yeah. To fill you in, we're doing this really difficult to translate pasuk. Midrachav yisba Soog Lev u'me'alav ish tov. And we have six different translations here that we're working with and just trying to get any semblance of an idea right now. Yeah, Isaac?
I have a maybe different shot.
Okay, so let me go with David first because David has been waiting patiently.
Oh.
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, could this be pasuk saying? Could this be one person in saying that to get what you want, you could still, or really the way to is to still be a good guy? And I'll just check the background to it and then how this is actually applying to what the pasuk says.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people think that if they want to be successful, they want to get what they want to fulfill their desires, want to satisfy their desires. The only way to do that is to be a quote unquote bad person. And they think that they have to then cheat other people or get ahead of other people. And what Shlomo is saying is that's not the case. Actually, the way to satisfy what you're looking for is while still sticking to being a good guy and doing things within that. And so I think that the person who has said now to our pasuk, I think that this is one person that to satisfy his heartache and to get that satisfaction of heartache, he does things which then wind up putting him as being a good person, not be a good guy and you'll be totally happy, but the things that satisfy your heartache in an actual will help and satisfy them wind up spitting you out as a good guy.
Okay, so are you saying I don't know if I ever coined this term, but we've talked about this before, that this is a story time pasuk where it's not describing two different people, but it's describing like a progression. Is that the direction you're taking?
I wasn't saying necessarily as a progression.
Because let me just ask you then, how are you reading the pasuk? Like let me do this. Let me summarize what you're saying first. You're saying that if a person seeks satisfaction of his desires in the proper Mishleic way, then that will ultimately culminate in him becoming a good person. I just want to interject here because I just had a discussion with somebody recently who was having, there's this like awakening that many of us who are inclined or attend more rationalist leaning yeshivas, that we fall out on, where like there's a phase that you go through. For some people, it lasts like more than a decade, where like you feel like you have to like suppress your emotions, and like emotions are bad, So I was trying to explain Mishlei it takes the opposite approach, and how Mishlei like takes the approach of Shlomo Melech does not try to change your emotions. He tries to show you how if you satisfy your emotions and you do so through chachma, then that will eventually perfect you, And so the example that I gave, is one that, did we talk about this recently? No, we didn't talk about this recently. Is like I'm going to be teaching a pasuk to my my ninth graders tomorrow, I think, about how I think it's a tov erchapayim migibor umoshel berucho milochet ir. So better someone who's slow to anger than a hero or a mighty or a strong man, and better someone who can rule over his Rabbeinu Yonah says his anger than someone who conquers a city. And so Rabbeinu Yonah on that pasuk says that you've got the ksil kol ruchu yotzi ksil, that a fool just acts on his anger, and what that does is it gets him into trouble. Okay, if you just like lash out at someone who makes you angry. The higher level is an erech apayim. Erech apayim is someone who delays his anger, which means that he doesn't act on his anger and take revenge right away, but he waits till his anger cools down so he can plot his revenge, okay? And he says that you'll get two benefits. One is that you'll avoid making impulsive decisions, which cause you more harm. And the second thing is you could get better revenge, okay? And then the highest level is the moshel brucho, where you have eliminated your anger and you no longer seek revenge at all. Okay, so what Shlomo's trying to guide you to do is he realizes every person is vengeful when they start off, so you're going to take revenge. But now the question is, do you do it like a fool or do you do it like a chacham? Then after you progress to that level and you're taking revenge like a chacham, then we work on like getting rid of revenge. And what you end up seeing is that like taking revenge is not in your best interest in terms of your own desires, So that's what I'm hearing David describing here, which is that if you want to satisfy your desires and you follow Mishlei and you stick to the program, you will eventually become an ish tov. So first of all, David, is that what you're saying, or am I misunderstanding you?
I think it definitely is very, very much in line with what I'm saying. And I think you're taking it application-wise in one way that I think is one of the things I've been thinking. I also think that you could also then take this to anybody who's looking for either of these two halves or doesn't want either of these two halves. Then I think that you can then say, well, if you want or do not want one of these two things, well, then just know the consequences or the benefits that come along with it.
Okay.
So if someone,
no, go ahead.
So if someone wants to get rid of the heartache, well, then know that it's going to come along with being a good man. Or if someone say, like, I remember like part of my read is coming from someone I talked to who specifically identified himself as being like a bad man. Whenever I talked to him, like, I'm a bad man. And he kept saying that he was a bad man because of certain desires that he wanted to chase. And I think it's just saying exactly not that. You think that you want to be a bad man, but no, actually, if you want to, and you want to fulfill your desires, but no, like these two things come hand in hand.
Okay, so two clarification questions. First of all, the question I asked you before, which is how are you reading the pasuk? And the way that I'm understanding you reading the pasuk is that the yisba is an imperative, which is that the Soog Lev should satisfy his ways, satisfy himself from dracha. Yeah, I'm not clear how you're reading the pasuk. You just, that's one question. The other question is you keep on using the word heartache. And I don't know if you mean what English-speaking people mean by heartache, which is sadness, or if you're saying some weird use of the word heartache that I don't understand. So can you clarify like how you're reading the pasuk and how you're understanding Soog Lev, or why you keep using the word heartache?
Okay, sure. So to the first one first. So reading the pasuk, it was in the story time way, if I caught that. Where I was just saying that this could be, I think it could be right either way. I had been reading it in the story time way, where this would be like a progression that then this winds up spitting out a good man. Like this produces following, like I think applying Mishlei and fulfilling what you're looking for properly will then wind up turning into a good man. And
okay, so could you just read the pasuk though?
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of just describing how you're reading the pasuk.
Okay. Okay, from his, I'll just take what you said. From his ways, the backsliding of heart will be satisfied. Okay,
Yeah.
so from the ways of one who follows Mishlei, the backsliding of heart will be satisfied.
Okay, so I understand from the ways of one who follows Mishlei, the backsliding of heart person will be satisfied. Okay, go ahead.
And from doing these, he will become a good man.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right, good.
Okay,
so now
so-
I got how you're reading the pasuk, and then the heartache thing.
Okay, so yeah, that was just me misusing heartache.
Okay.
I was
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I
you know,
intuited.
yes.
Okay. In the interest of time, I want to hear what Isaac has to say, and then I want to read them to us, David, to set us up for tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll come back and revisit all the approaches that we have. Yeah. Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I think I'm saying like what Ariel was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just try to read it a little bit more focused. Sure. That the Soog Lev seeks satisfaction from his ways, whereas the Ishtov gets also has some sort of internal satisfaction.
Okay.
You know, there's some external thing that the Soog Lev is getting satisfaction from. Like let's say he let's say like the results of his decision.
Yeah.
I'm not being too specific because I think the point is something external, whereas the Ishtov is let's say happy if he makes good decisions or something like that, even if they don't turn out well.
Okay, good. Satisfaction from himself. I know it spelled that wrong. Yeah. So who said this? One of the meforshim said was closest to this. Oh, yeah, Hirsch. Yeah, right. Okay, good. Yeah. That actually fits in very well with reverse. So the Soog Lev seeks satisfaction from his ways, and I'll say what you said as an example. For example, the results of his actions. We'll have to see whether that's a good reading of ways. Whereas the Ish Tov derives satisfaction from himself. For example, like the decision making itself. And the implication, I think, of what you're saying is, and therefore he will actually become satisfied. Whereas the Soog Lev's satisfaction will depend on whether he gets what he wants. Yeah, Oren?
So one should I say?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Go. No, you can say it now.
Okay, it's kind of similar to what I think is saying.
Yeah.
Like very similar, but this is like the EGs will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Where so the bad person, the one of a Soog Lev, is somebody who gets satisfaction from the actions that they perform.
Yeah.
Whereas the other person is going to get satisfaction not from the actions they perform, but from the kind of person that they are.
Okay.
So meaning like, and that can even work for the bad person. That can even work if they're doing good things. They might think like, I'm gonna go do an action of learning. Let's say, and then I'm good. Like I'm set basically.
Yeah.
But the other person realizes that simply by doing an act of learning, it doesn't make you like a tzaddik or anything. That just means that you learned one time.
Yeah.
Right. It needs to be like a sustained thing.
Okay.
Where you are a gavra of learning.
Okay. Good. I like that approach. All right. Good. I think these are fruitful approaches. Let's just read and translate, and then not discuss the Mitzudas just to get it in our heads for tomorrow. Which is Mitzudas. I'm just going to use this in here. Soog Lev, halev hanisog miHashem. So the heart that is backsliding or turning away from Hashem, yispa midrachav, will be satisfied from his ways. Ki gemulo ki mifalo. Okay, because he'll get his punishment in accordance with his actions. So he's saying yispa midrachav is like a bad thing, like you're gonna get what you deserve type of yispa. Ume'alav, and from upon him be'is yikabel hagemul, and at the time that he gets reward, unless this is punishment still, yihye ish tov nifra me'al. Well, never mind. No. At the time when the bad guy gets punished, the ish tov will separate from him, from the bad guy, labal yihye nilka imo, so that he does not get stricken along with him. Okay, so this must be what the R scroll was going based off of, right? R scroll. Did I delete that? No. Yeah. The R scroll must have been going off of a wayward heart will be satisfied with its ways, but a good man will take leave of him. It's not exactly like that, but it's for the second half. So it is. This is also a story time pasuk, but it's describing in a case what happens when the bad man follows his ways, and then it's talking to a person who is good, who's in his vicinity. Okay, all right. So we got a lot to think about for tomorrow, but I think this ended up being a better haul than I thought. So all right, good. So we'll continue tomorrow. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.